So, David, thank you for joining us. I'm really happy to talk about this topic with you. Could you give a brief introduction about yourself?
Sure. Thanks for the invite, Thomas. So myself, my background is mostly trading. I worked 20 years in TradFi at private banks, mostly fixed income derivatives trading, and then 10 years at the debt management office when I was head of trading room there, trading vanilla fixed income, but also FX options, things like that. But I've been in the crypto space for some years and always been very technical person. So I know how to program in different languages. Solidity and Viper and Rust are some of them. So lately, in the past years, also because of my trading background, I was interested in DeFi, options protocols on DeFi, so market making. And in March this year, I joined Amber Group, which is kind of a crypto hedge fund. It's not really known outside of Asia, and even in Asia, it's not as known as its volume in trading, because mostly it does market making and quantitative trading. So you don't really see the name, but they're in the market providing liquidity.
Let's dig into the question. So the first question is, like, what are the 3 points that you look into when you're fundamentally looking into a project?
Okay, so first of all would be understanding what the project is about, and is it useful? Is it just a fork of something else? Is it something that people are actually going to use and not just, look at the nice UI, use it a bit, and then forget about it? There's a ton of protocols out there. And I'm not even talking about DeFi. I'm talking about Web3 in general, where they look nice, but after all of that flashy colors and user interface, and you've already seen it all, it doesn't really do much. So I think the first one would be, is it useful or not, right? Another point is it being used, right? Not only is it useful, is it you personally think of it, but does the collective wisdom also think that it's useful? And there you have measures like TVL, volume transacted on the protocol, if it's a DeFi or if it's some utility, how many people have that token? Is the token just controlled by the founders, and just a few of the addresses have those tokens? So these will all be kind of measures if this protocol is, if you find it useful, not only you, but also other people, and it's actually being used. Then there is, if you're making an investment in the protocol, you kind of have to understand a bit of the tokenomics of what you're investing in, right? So is, your stake will be in some kind of token, probably, if you're investing in a Web3. So is this token inflationary? Is there some kind of token dynamics that will make the supply go up indefinitely? So whatever proportion you have of the protocol is going to get diluted, going forward. So it's a very interesting topic intellectually, and it's very hard to get right sometimes, even if you do have an honest, intention. Sometimes the dynamics of token creation, token burn just don't work, right, under your assumptions, and then just inflation takes away all the value of the protocol.
So that also means that you're never a really early investor. You really want to see already it's working, if it's part of the promises, really committed to it.
Yeah, well, on me personally, I would prefer to let others, take the lead. Obviously, there you're maybe giving up some optionality, right? If you're an early investor, you can buy things by cents on the dollar, and then it just explodes, right? So you're giving away some optionality, and it depends on your profile. If you like have big pockets and you're going to invest in 100, maybe 1 or 2 will make up for all of the 98 that didn't work, right? If you're kind of trying to make safer bets, then early investment is obviously a shot in the dark. So me personally, I would prefer to see something get some traction first.
Okay, then let's jump to the next question. So what are 3 key points that you're really evaluating a project on technically? So where are you technically looking at?
Well, I'm a very technical person, so some of these answers may not fit everyone, right? But first of all, I would look at, this is not really technical, but what chain is it on, right? There are I would say maybe too many chains, and some maybe you think they have a future, some don't, some have a lot of hype, some don't. Like I'm not gonna talk badly about any chain, right? But for example, Binance Smart Chain, it's fast, it's cheap. So in DeFi summer, it like got a lot of traction. But at the end of the day, it's not really decentralized, right? So you have a handful, well, a bit more a handful, but you have a limited number of validators that kind of dictate everything that happens. And let's hope that CZ Notebook and CZ Desktop is not two of them, right?
Yes.
But okay, so this is one. But on a more technical level, is the code available, right? If the smart contracts that are going to lock funds, are they open sourced? Are they verified on Etherscan or whatever explorer you look at? This is always I think, a red flag if the code is not available. Then is it audited? So did anything happen in the protocol? Was there any episode in the past where funds were locked or were lost for some reason? So these are all things that...
Sorry, but what do you mean with audited? That there's an auditing company looking at it? Or what do you mean with audited?
Yes. Audited is there are auditing companies that certify. So you have an independent third party that went through the code of the smart contracts and kind of publicly gave a stamp that they went through it and they didn't find any problem with the smart contracts, any vulnerability, any reentrancy or whatever other hacks that may happen. And that can happen.
Is there any big leaders, big auditing companies that you say like that's something that you really should have a look at? Like if that company checked the code?
There are many, like QuantStamp, Certic, Hacken. There are a lot of names that for their experience of auditing some known protocols gives a bit of credibility, right? There are also others in the space that are as capable, right? So you as a project developer, you don't want obviously a hack to happen, right? So you might want to two things: ask for an audit for people that will be honestly interested in finding that hack and correcting it. Not that the big ones won't, but also you want a name, right? So that others trust that if this guy that audited, this and that protocol gave his public stamp that, okay, I went through the contracts and whatever vulnerabilities I found, they corrected it. And so yeah, I think it's always, it's hard for a protocol to get a lot of value locked if people don't trust it, right? So this helps.
Yes, so you firstly stated that the code needs to be available for everyone, that it needs to have been audited. You have a third one as well to look in?
Well, as I said, what chain is it in, right? So
yes.
Solana, for example, I like Solana, right? But the fact that it's had downtime for several hours, several times, kind of might put people off. Like if I don't have, but if I have 100 million staked in a protocol and the world is crumbling and Solana is down, I can't move my funds because Solana is offline. That worries me, right? So yes. I would prefer some chain that has zero downtime to a chain that has several times downtime for several hours.
Like my perception is more that they learn from that as well, right? They should improve. Like if a chain has been tested and it's been down, and they came back from it, they rised again. Don't you think that means something as well?
Well, you would think so, right? But still, you're comparing chains that have zero downtime, never had downtime, with a chain that has downtime several times, right? So yeah, they didn't correct the first time, they didn't correct the second time, so it happened then again. And again, I like Solana, right? I'm not just giving that as an example because it's one of those that had downtime.
Yeah, 100% clear. So catalysts, which is one of my favorite questions, like what is really provoking a huge price pump? That's what I mean with the catalyst. So do you have 3 reasons that are really, I mean, we currently see exchanges collapsing, which is basically a catalyst that does the opposite. That's a catalyst for shorting. But do you have catalysts for going long, like events?
Well, I'm going to have to say no, because the whole industry is going up with trust, right? Trust and I would say trust and hype. So you had a few episodes where everyone was having crypto coming up on the news without being in a negative way, and it was in people's faces that Bitcoin was going through the roof. It was going 40K, then 50K, then 60K. So that is hype bringing inexperienced people into the market, and maybe experienced or more serious players like traditional finance hedge funds, other entities like this. This brings people into the market and brings funds on chain. They buy Ethereum, they buy all of these cryptocurrencies, and it makes it go up with. I divide it between the two, hype and trust. It's not just pure hype, right? It's some people actually realizing that crypto will have a place in the future, like I have no doubt it will, and others just joining. Everyone is buying, so I'm going to buy as well. I don't even know what Bitcoin is, but my mother saw it on TV. I'm going to buy it as well, right? So a lot of this happened. So unfortunately, I would like to give it another answer, but I think when we saw those movements of the market going up and up and up and up, it was like Bitcoin was going up and dragging everything up, and there was a lot of hype around it. And also in between the hype, there were a lot of people just actually wanting to know more, and then getting to know, what is a wallet, what is cold storage, what are different chains, and all of that. So there was also a bit of serious use cases. So unfortunately for us, we have this up movement. When we see sudden up movements, it's normally not for a good reason, right? Not that Elon Musk said he would accept Bitcoin to buy Teslas and things like that. So these catalysts are not the best catalysts, right? No. So unfortunately for this industry, I think when it goes up, it'll have to go up steadily and sustainably. People coming in, actually knowing what they're doing, buying cold storage, buying coins, storing them like this. So it has to go up slowly. Unfortunately, there are a lot of negative catalysts, right? So we've had more than a fair share of those in the last months. And that kind of brings it all back in the trust that people were building up in this industry, unfortunately. Right?
Yeah, so based on that trust, something that I personally always do is seeing like what project is backed up by which party, and do I trust that party that's backing it up? Like the same way, for example, Warren Buffett, whenever he invests in a stock and that becomes public, more people invest in that stock. And then basically Warren Buffett did the analysis for you.
Yeah, that's true, and it's a valid point, right? You can trust that the backers have done their due diligence, and if they trusted to put their money, then they saw something and they did not see some red flags. So that is obviously something that you can do, although it's not foolproof, but I think it's a good indicator, right? So
it's also
FTX had some backers, right? Alameda Research had some backers,
exactly,
and you know how that happened, you know?
So still to do their own research. Then the final question, like, what do you think about the current market conditions? What is your short summary of what is going to happen? Are we going to wait in a cold winter for 10 years? Are we going to resolve this quickly?
Again, I would like to give a different answer, but in the short term, I don't think the market's going up anytime soon. I think we had too many very big blows to the confidence in the sector. Since the Terra Luna episode now with the FTX was a huge blow to the confidence, right? Basically, all of the centralized finance entities are now, which are black boxes, right? They don't have the regulatory control of banks, for example. So they can store their balance sheet on a piece of paper, on an Excel sheet. They don't even have to have a balance sheet. It's just the lack of control and the episodes that happen just make it very hard to trust these entities where you have no visibility on what they do with your funds. So unfortunately, that took a huge blow to the market confidence. So I think we're going to have to build slowly, back the confidence that we were trying to obtain. So it's not going to be a month or 2 or 6 or 12 for that matter. My personal opinion, right? Then there's the other problem that also doesn't help, which is the macroeconomic environment of the whole globe, right? So you have rates going up because inflation is going up in a lot of countries. You have growth that is not really, side by side with inflation. So you actually have some countries in stagflation where they're not growing, they have inflation, they have to raise rates. Some countries are more or less pegged to the dollar, so they're getting the inflation from what the Fed is doing. So all of this makes a recession and bad economic environment very likely. But as it has been for centuries, this goes in cycles. So there will be a recession, then it'll go up. So we just have to wait.
But do you think we are going into a recession, or do you think we are in a recession and even coming out of it? Or are you thinking we're in the middle of the recession? Like, what do you think is like the macroeconomic level? What is your opinion, like personal opinion?
Okay, personal opinion, I think we're kind of in the middle. I think it'll get maybe worse, or at least stay like this for some time until it gets better. Because the macro environment is in a particular situation where in past recessions you had like the US and Europe in a recession, but China was growing like crazy, right? And some other balancing factor. Now it seems like everyone is being hit hard by COVID, by then all of the distribution constraints that happened after that. So a lot of these chains got broken. We're in I won't say the perfect storm, but we're in a particular situation that makes it difficult, right, to get out of in a short term.
Yes. So going back to your statement about crypto and about those exchanges collapsing, it's actually showing why crypto should be decentralized and why you should keep it in your own hands, why you keep it cold storage.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
Actually, we were talking about trust, but the trust is not regarding cryptocurrency. The trust is regarding exchanges holding cryptocurrency. So for me, this is actually, I've been here since 2017. And before, I also studied like the bear markets, like what was going on. It was mostly governments banning cryptocurrency. So directly cryptocurrency. And now crypto is down because we lost trust in crypto exchanges. So this is the first bear market that actually nobody is complaining about cryptocurrency. They're complaining about those institutions that were holding, the third parties that were holding the cryptocurrencies, right?
Yeah, no, that's absolutely. I completely agree with that. And during these several episodes, DeFi served its purpose, meaning nothing went wrong with DeFi. The trust was there, and the liquidation happened as it should, right? So if you have a position that can get liquidated, the DeFi protocol will liquidate your position and will serve the creditors. So yes, DeFi served its purpose. Unfortunately, and going back to trust, the centralized exchanges are kind of the image of crypto for those coming in, right? So the crypto has a learning curve. It's not someone that just starts from zero and gets a MetaMask and is comfortable in using, transferring from MetaMask to his ledger, right? So I think the first step is the centralized exchanges. And for many people, that is what crypto is, right? So until they learn a bit more, crypto is buying Bitcoin on Binance, on FTX, on these centralized exchanges. Unfortunately, right? It's not, but because they've got a bad name, that is kind of, for the crowd wisdom, that is what crypto looks like now, unfortunately, right? But again, this is like a learning curve, and the more we build things, the more use cases we find for crypto, the more maybe normal users will be aware of what crypto and blockchain can do, and maybe they will change this image that crypto is Binance, right? But yes, right now, I think that's where we are.
So basically, the conclusion is be patient. Maybe even add to your bags, your crypto bags.
Yeah, absolutely. I can say I haven't sold anything, so I keep buying a bit at a time. If you believe, like I'm fairly pessimistic for the short term, but I'm optimistic on the long term, right? So if you look at your portfolio not in dollar terms but in crypto terms, right? you just keep accumulating, right? Don't look at how much you have in your ETH worth in dollars or Bitcoin worth in dollars. Just see that no, you're earning more and more ETH because you're being able to buy and spend less dollars to buy it, right? And if you believe that in the future it's going to be worth something, then this is a good opportunity and not a bad one.
Then we come back to one Bitcoin will always be one Bitcoin, right? Same as one Ethereum will always be one Ethereum.
Exactly.
Is there anything else you would like to add?
Well, just maybe end on a positive note, because I said a lot of negative things, but this is where we are now, right? Some bad things happened, and the environment is not great, but Bitcoin, not Bitcoin, blockchain in general has huge potential, right? So many times it's compared with the early days of the internet, where some nasty things happened in the early days. People thought it was going to be over. But then, no, it's just a blip in the timeline. So I honestly think that that's where we are now. And as bad as it seems now, I believe tremendously in this technology, in this industry going forward. So now it's time to build, time to learn, time to improve your skills and keep at it.
100% agreed. So David, I really want to thank you for this interview and to talk about your opinion. I personally learned some from it, so I hope my viewers did as well. And I hope that in the future maybe we can talk about your new projects.
Sure, sounds great.
Yes, so thank you. Bye bye.